many people come out to say that, well, this just shows that it works. Clearly, our methods are working to keep these people from taking these platforms, spreading these ideas, and causing harm to ethnic minorities. And so they are very proud of these methods. So we talked a little bit about this, but what do you guys think of this pragmatic argument that violent protests work better than reasoned debate or civil protests?
What is the standard of works? I mean, Milo obviously achieved his greatest popularity and fame in response to people being triggered at him and trying to shut him down. So if their standard of works makes the thing that they hate more popular than they could ever achieve on their own, well then, yeah, I guess it works. But
I want to take that on a bit. I want to chew on that, because one thing I've been thinking about for a couple of years now, since I'm not in school anymore, but when I was in law school, I was thinking about this a lot, is the idea that I think it's too charitable to assume that these people want what we think that they want. So if just at first blush, the best interpretation of these rioters and these people who are on the left who are getting violent to shut down speakers they don't like, the best interpretation is that they think these ideas are going to lead to really, really bad consequences, violent consequences, potentially genocidal consequences for people on their side, and therefore it's worth shutting them down. But I don't think that their goal is actually just to shut down particular speakers. I think that they have a different goal. I think their goal is something, because you can determine, if you don't know what someone's motive is, you can often tell what it is by the way that they're pursuing it. Because every goal, every end has a nature. It has a particular identity, and it can only be achieved by certain means. And rational goals, rational values can't be achieved by violent means. And so I think let's just discard any charitable interpretation of what they're doing and ask what is it really that their methods will lead to? And the answer is mob rule. What they want ultimately is a form of tribal warfare where their masses get to prevail. And that's even what the site, Tyler, the group that you mentioned, is it BAM?
Yeah, BAMN.
That's even what they say on their website, right? They say that your power as the popular masses and your will, that's what we should be trying to assert here. And at the end of the day, that's what they want.
What I think is behind a lot of this violent activism, and behind the mindset of this person, Yvette Filarca, is the idea that reason doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That basically the platform or the marketplace of ideas is actually quite dangerous in and of itself.
Yeah.
And that the freedom to discuss ideas and that the freedom to discuss ideas is dangerous, and the idea that people can engage rationally with other people is a pipe dream. I think that's what is behind a lot of their actions.
Something that stood out to me, this is a little bit off topic, is your comment on reason doesn't work. And I personally, how often do you see true reasoned debate where two people have differing viewpoints and through a logical discussion arrive at the same conclusion? As objectivists, I feel like we see that very rarely, but we see it much more than most people would.
So Tyler, I want to just extend that. So Tyler, what you're getting at earlier is something that I find is really interesting. Something I observed when I was looking at the videos, because a term that Dr. Peikoff uses in the Ominous Parallels is that the Nazis believed that there was an epistemological gulf between the Aryan race and others. And therefore it wasn't useful to engage in reason with those people. You had to use your will. You had to engage in the use of force, and you had to, your amount of force had to proliferate. And Marxists believe the same thing about economic classes. That is that, and this is, you see this on the left today, in people who talk about privilege. If you ever have a discussion with a social justice warrior who's really, really indoctrinated in this stuff, they'll dismiss everything you say because, quote, privilege. And that's just a way of saying that we can't have a discussion on the same terms based in logic because there's a gulf between us epistemologically. And so it's interesting that you see the same problem on the left by people who say they oppose the Nazis, but they're committing the same fallacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think that a lot of SJWs and people who are against, public platforms and marketplace of ideas, I think that they view logic as let's say, as a weapon or as a tool of the people in power to keep the oppressed down. And it's some kind of, it's a very manipulative tool that you don't like. It's in their view worse than, say, a police state because it actually convinces people of their oppression or something like that.